Hey folks, this is Glenn from the Pet Food Puzzle Guy, and thanks for being with me. I have to say, I've been looking at the data that YouTube sends me, and some of these videos lately, up to 75% of the folks watching them have never watched. They're totally new viewers, and so I wanna. I think my 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 real passion is when I watch a video from somebody, one of the ingredientists out there that just gives out so much misinformation. I just feel I'm not comfortable. I'm not happy till I make a video to counter it. And so really, this is for those of you that are new, my nutrition mission folks. I love you. You know most of this, to be honest with you. Maybe you'll pick up a few pointers in here. But this was one of the retailers out there that just is prolific with videos. And he did the top 10 lies from the pet food industry that pet parents still believe. And I just so want to. It'd be great to sit down with him, but I know it would never happen. That would be something. But sit in a pub in England and have a few beers and argue over this stuff. But I want to go through and touch on each one. Why? Because I believe he's sincere. I love his passion. He's kind of like me, even more so than me. And I think he represents the folks that believe this stuff, turning really good science into lies and just marketing. So I want to go through 1 through 10. I hope you learn a lot from it. If you're brand new, please check out some of my other videos. But this is the one, this is the topic. This was the whole reason I did my channel, was to help people understand there's two sides to this, because the misinformation, most of it on YouTube and social media is just people selling you pet products or selling you recipes or selling you pet food, and they know they can say anything they want. So this, I'm trying to bring some facts and some science back to the conversation, bring it back to nutrients. That's what nutrition is, not ingredients. So we'll see. So here you go. This is for all of you new folks. And again, if you're part of my nutrition mission family, I always appreciate you guys, all your support. But let's go through and hear from a really good representative from the nutritionist. From the ingredients side. Such a hard word to say. The ingredientists out there. This is what they're hearing, and many of them believe it. And it's your job for us to get the word out that, hey, don't believe these pet food marketers, as sincere as some of them are. Let's get back to science and doing what we feel is best for our pets. So I will put the full video, I'll link it in the description. So if you want to watch the whole thing, I don't want to misrepresent anybody and their views, but I want to show both sides fairly. And then, sorry, pet food or pet parents, it's up to you guys. You have the big responsibility of deciding what's best for your pet. Nobody could do that but you. So let's do it. Okay, so let's jump in. Number one, the number one lie that the pet food industry tells pet parents, and they believe it, is that you can have too much protein. So his number one point that he brings out, which is really amazing, at the beginning of this video, he brings out probably the worst advice I've ever heard. The others, some of them I actually agree with him on, but this one, there's no such thing as too much protein in pet food. There's no such thing as too much protein. So anybody that tells you you should watch the protein or optimal protein, all that, it's ridiculous, because dogs can only do two things according to him. They can excrete or get oxidize protein, which I've never heard that term in the nutritional sense. Oxidation, usually it's food going rancid, that kind of thing. So that was a weird. Or they can utilize it. One of those two things. So that's his position. And one thing you can do, folks, if you're a pet parent, you're not going to start looking at research and all this other stuff. You can Google this. Now, I know that's dangerous. You always have to, when you Google a topic, read a bunch of different things and look at the source. Look at where it's coming. Is it coming from a veterinary, source? Is it coming from, Glenn's all natural world of dogs, that kind of thing? Because you will find all kinds of opinions, but the truth is in there. So I just did that. Okay, now I know this is how I've understood this for years. This has not changed. We've learned a lot about proteins and stuff, but the animal, dogs and cats, actually both, will take and utilize. Well, let's leave cats out of it because he's really just talking dogs here, I think, and cats utilize protein in different ways. So we'll leave the carnivore out of here and just talk about the omnivore. And they will take protein. They need protein to get all their amino acids. Excess protein, though, has to be excreted out of the body. Now, what happens is it can get converted over. I think it's called glucogen, and gets turned over to basically fat to be burned as calories. So protein, it has to be broken down, and then it has to be excreted. So I just Googled this. I didn't go to any research thing. I didn't go to any Hills literature or anything. I was just curious, what would you as a pet parent find on the internet? And this is what I found. And now this all does collaborate what I have been taught by board certified nutritionists for years up to this very time. So here, the first one. A dog's body uses excess protein by metabolizing it into fat for storage or for breaking it down and excreting it in the urine. While healthy dogs can generally handle excess protein, that is totally true, right? Excess protein does not cause kidney disease, okay? This guy says it all the time, and I agree 100% because science agrees with that. But it puts a strain on their kidneys, especially those with pre-existing kidney conditions. I don't even know if it actually puts a strain on healthy kidneys because they can handle it. But if there's any compromise in those kidneys, just like this article is saying, yes, and if it's pre-existing kidney disease, you really want to watch that protein level. A diet with too much protein can also lead to an excess of calories. Now that's funny. They always talk about carbs are going to make your dog fat, right? But protein doesn't have as many calories as fat, but almost as many as carbs. I'm sorry. Let me just start over. A diet which with too much protein can also lead to an excess of calories, potentially causing weight gain and an imbalance of other essential nutrients like fiber. So, this is the first one. Okay, let me go to the next one. This was a different one. Okay, you'll see the writing's a little different. Protein. This is talking about excess protein. It got cut off from the top here. Energy storage. Protein that isn't used for tissue repair or for other bodily functions can be converted into fat and stored. Okay, can't store protein, can't store the amino acids, but when it's converted over to fat, now it can be stored and can lead to obesity, like the other article said. Excretion. The body breaks down excess protein, producing waste products like urea, which are then filtered by the kidneys and excreted in the urine. So there we go. There's the overtaxing the kidneys or putting work on the kidneys, which again, I think most nutritionists would agree out there and scientists all. If you got a dog that's blessed with healthy kidneys, that excess protein probably is not going to be a problem. But if there's any compromise, they're older, they're starting into stage 1 renal failure, yeah, that's a bad thing. Okay, and here's the last one I want to read, and I'll put this one up again as well. Another issue is that meat in these diets, acting as the protein source, contains other nutrients that you do not want in excessive amounts. Talk about this all the time. What are we talking about? Phosphorus, right? For example, when a diet is mostly meat, it becomes very difficult to maintain a proper calcium phosphorus ratio. When this ratio is out of balance, disruptions in bone growth or kidney damage can occur. Phosphorus levels in meat, especially high meat diets, especially low quality meat sources that you know nothing of because you can't tell from the ingredient panel, will be high in phosphorus, very detrimental to the health of your older dog, especially if they're already in some stage of renal disease. Well-formulated dog foods have an appropriate balance of protein, fat, and carbohydrates to prevent this from happening, to prevent the imbalance. You can't prevent kidney disease, you can't prevent age-related diseases, but we sure can reduce the risk, and that's what this article here is talking about. And the point is, what's the point of that excess protein? It's just going to get stored as fat and lead to obesity. So when he says there's no such thing as too much protein, he's pretty much disqualified himself from all the other 9 things he's going to say. I say that respectfully. I don't mean to laugh, but that's kind of how I tend to, in this world of all this information and everybody screaming something at us and everybody has an opinion. I have to look at the things I do know, the things I can research. And if they're wrong about that, I have to at least throw up a red flag that maybe they're wrong about other stuff. If they're right about it, well, then I'll keep going. Okay. And when I say right, they're right as far as I understand, as far as the consensus out there. To say there's no such thing as excess protein is just irresponsible and ridiculous. And again, as a pet parent, you can go to Google and you can find what the real people are saying out there. Here's this was in that same article: potential health concerns. Kidney strain. The kidneys must work harder to filter and excrete the byproducts of protein metabolism, not oxidation, metabolism. This can be particularly taxing for dogs with existing kidney issues. So again, that's pretty much 100% understood. Even the holistic, you know, people out there with all their wild ideas, I think they would say if there's existing kidney issues, yeah, to say there's no such thing as excess protein, I don't even think you'd get a holistic vet saying that. But this retailer believes this. He read it somewhere or learned it somewhere in whatever certification he got. And then weight gain. Again, protein contains calories, so a diet with excess protein can lead to a surplus of calories, which can contribute to weight gain, especially in less active and overweight dogs. When do you ever hear excess protein can lead to obesity? All you hear from ingredientists is carbohydrates make dogs fat. Okay, not protein. Protein is magic. Protein is just wonderful. And too much, no such thing. So right there, that's the first one. And again, I'm not even sourcing these, whatever. So that's the caution I'll give you. If you go to Google and you're going to look this stuff up, just always look at the source to see, is it coming from a veterinary organization? Is it coming from nutritionists? Is it coming from a whole dog journal? You know, that kind of thing. And then you can listen to both sides, and then you make that decision. Okay, so that's the first one. Okay, some of these will be a lot shorter, so hang with me. Okay, number 2, kibble is complete and balanced, and you shouldn't feed anything else to your pet. Okay, now first of all, kibble represents every kind of food out there that's put into a dry form, from the worst nutrient deficient, excessive, horrible garbage foods up to veterinary therapeutic diets. So the form kibble, when you hear that and they use it that way, they don't know what they're talking about. Sorry, but they're lumping all these diets from the best to the worst into the category of kibble, and they're going to comment on kibble. Do you see how that doesn't make any sense? Okay, there's good kibble, there's bad kibble, there's good raw diets, there's good or bad raw diets, there's good canned foods, there's terrible canned foods. Okay, so the form, as soon as they get into a form discussion, again, red flag. I really don't want to listen to these folks. So does anybody out there say don't feed anything else but kibble? That's everything. Okay, now complete and balanced, I think he and I would agree that comes from the NRC, it comes from AFCO, the ranges are really high. So complete and balanced on the bag doesn't really tell me a whole lot. I think you guys kind of know that. Okay, it's just ranges that bureaucracy has come up with. You really want to look at what are the real nutrient levels, and do they fall into ranges of what science has determined to be, you know, accurate and optimal. So complete and balanced, I'm sure he and I would agree, doesn't mean much on the bag. Okay, I don't think anybody's saying don't feed anything else. Now, again, an ingredientist, feed anything because it doesn't matter. Okay, a nutritionist would say, well, if you're going to add a lot of stuff to the kibble, even if it's a really great balanced diet, now you're unbalancing the diet. So toppers, things like that, you have to be aware. You have to be thinking about that. An ingredientist never thinks about that. It's just more is always better, and kibble is bad because it's processed. And so again, there's some agreement there, but as soon as they start saying kibble, I could give you an example of a horrible kibble, and I could give you an example of a miraculous kibble that has saved dogs' lives. They're both kibble. So I can't have a discussion, kibble's good or kibble's bad. Show me the nutrients in that kibble. Then I'll tell you whether it's good or bad. Okay, number 3, raw food is risky and due to the bacteria, so you shouldn't use it. You shouldn't feed raw ingredients. I happen to agree with him here that what he is saying, and to have some mutual respect here, is that when you talk about raw feeding, he and I both hope that we're talking to people that take on that big responsibility. Of course, you're going to be careful with raw food the same way with your family, so you could do it with your dog. Now, there's arguments, the dog, the raw bacteria is on their mouth, and they go and lick the kids, that kind of thing. I mean, so I guess there's a little bit of added risk when it comes to your dog versus, the family, because you're just handling it and cooking it and, a little different. But I think what he says, which I really like, is he's talking to the people that are taking on that, I don't want to say extreme responsibility, but they're taking on a responsibility to be careful with it and to treat the ingredients right and to do it right. So I agree with him there. If somebody really wants to take on that responsibility and they get a good recipe, again, just because it's raw, just because it's fresh, doesn't mean it's going to be nutritionally adequate for your pet. Some of the worst deficiencies and worst imbalances that have led to animals being put down because of what they were fed comes from homemade diets, whether it's cooked or raw. So again, if you're going to take on that responsibility, don't be an ingredientist and just, oh, I love all these ingredients and I'm spending good money on good ingredients. You have to be delivering at least close to optimal nutrients. That's the key. So he leaves that out. If he would just stick that in there, then we would both have total agreement on number 3 there. But yes, there's an added responsibility, there's an added risk, but hopefully he and Dr. Becker or anybody out there that's talking to people about feeding raw, that they understand this is a responsibility, do it right. Dr. Becker, Rodney, there's studies out there I've seen from other people, up to like 90% of folks that try doing homemade, whether it's raw or fresh, their own ingredients, up to 90% end up doing it wrong. And even those, there's one study, 80% of them that got a recipe from a board certified nutritionist. So they got the right thing. Just stick to this recipe and you're good. When they were interviewed a year later, 80% of them had come off it and were just kind of mixing this in with that and whatever. That's the concern. That's why most vets don't like raw feeding or even homemade feeding, because it just can lead to some real disastrous things. But if you take on that responsibility and you want to do it right, God bless you, go for it. Just make sure you're dealing with qualified people, not somebody that got a certification that's online selling you the recipes. That is not a good idea. Okay, number 5. How are we doing? You still with me? Number 5. This food is vet recommended. Um, you know what? That has come to actually mean absolutely nothing these days. Okay, maybe back in the 80s, you could say, Hills, well, it was only Hills at the time. Here's a renal diet, vet recommended, clinically proven to manage kidney disease. Here's all the research behind it, and it's recommended by veterinarians. Now, every food out there is paying a vet to say that their food is great. Okay. And I was just talking to somebody this morning on Facebook. We were just chatting back and forth a little bit. And she said, any food could just hire a nutritionist, and that nutritionist may not have a lot of impact on the diet, but their name is there and they can say vet recommended, and they could even use that person's name that they're on staff, that kind of thing. And she was totally right. I'm seeing this more and more now when I look at nutrients, show me the actual diet, right? Then I go and I find, wow, this food has, and I'm not going to name foods here, but some of the more popular ones out there now, they've got a few reputable nutritionists that I know. I've read their articles. They're smart, brilliant people. And then I look at the diet and, well, it's all life stage and this is pretty excessive and this and that. And like, okay, there's a disconnect between what I know this person knows and believes, if you want to use that term, and the finished product. And I really think, and I can't do this, but it would be an interesting video from a pet food manufacturer. I guess they're not going to be honest to do this, but how much influence does the nutrition people have with the finished product? There's got to be the money people and everybody involved that, well, yeah, that might be a perfect diet, but we can't afford to make that. Okay, that's just too expensive, so we're going to do this instead. The nutritionist is going to go along with it. They're not God. They can't just say, well, whatever. I guess they could quit. I don't know, but clearly there's a gap, and it's getting bigger and bigger in pet food marketing and the finished product, where here's all these credentialed veterinarian nutritionists, and here's the diets, and they don't really match up. So again, I have to agree with him that when it says vet recommended, that means absolutely nothing now. And again, vet recommended from a vet nutritionist, at least that would be somewhat better than recommended by a vet that I found down the street, or my sister-in-law is a vet and she recommends it. So yeah, vet recommended. Let's just ignore that these days. And it's sad, but talk to your vet. If your vet recommends it and you trust your vet, that's a different story. Okay, sorry, I'm looking at my board and I skipped number 4. 4 is a really easy one. Labels, pet food labels, all the marketing and everything. He and I both can totally agree, and you should really take this to the bank. All the marketing, holistic, natural, grain-free, all this other, just understand probably 95% of the stuff that gets communicated to you from a pet food marketing department is just BS. It's just something to make you feel good to buy their food. And both this ingredientist and this guy who's more into nutrition, we totally agree. You gotta watch that. I mean, they do it because it sucks us in, but you just can't let that be why you choose the food. The pretty packaging and the verbiage and all that other stuff, or the heartwarming commercials with the dog running through the field and sleeping with the baby. You can't let that get to you. It's just marketing, and most of it is untrue anyway. So number 4 we agree. Let's go on to number 6 here. Let's see. Number 6 is dogs should be fed as omnivores. This now is what he is saying. This is a lie that dogs should be fed as omnivores. So obviously he believes they're carnivores. Again, folks, you can Google this. This one's so easy. A cat is a true carnivore. Does that mean they can't utilize carbohydrates? Not at all. It just means they need meat. They need the amino acid taurine in meat that they're not going to get in plant or egg protein or something like that. They need it from meat. That's why they're obligate carnivores. The lie that they can't handle carbohydrates, that is a full-out lie. And again, science proves it. The top nutritionists in the world prove it. But pet food marketers are just so powerful. They're just so good at twisting. And then, of course, social media, everybody just keeps repeating it. I get told that cats can't handle carbs and cats are carnivores every single day from somebody on social media, or on my channel or Facebook or somewhere. And I just have to keep repeating, this is what a carnivore is. This is what they're not. A dog, they truly are not carnivores. They're omnivores. You could even make a vegetarian diet. I would not recommend it, but you could, because they just need all the amino acids they need. They don't have the taurine need. They need it, but not they can store it. They're not the same as a cat. So to say that it's a lie that dogs are omnivores, again, this is probably, I would say, the second big thing he's saying that proves you might not want to listen to everything he says. Okay, and maybe I'll attach it. Dr. Ray did a video why your dog isn't a carnivore, or yeah, I think that was it. And it was so good, and I stole a bunch of it and made a video on it. She gave me permission, and it's probably the best explanation of why your dog is not a carnivore. So I'm going to put that in the description as well. I hope I remember to do these, because if you have anybody that thinks their dog is a carnivore, and that number 1, protein doesn't matter, excess protein's great, they should watch Dr. Ray's video. Okay, so there we go. Number 6, we are done with that one. Let's go on to number 7. Supplements can fix any diet. Supplements can fix any diet. That is a lie, and I totally agree. Couple reasons. One, the supplement industry is so unregulated. God only knows what you're really getting. Okay, I know there's some good supplements out there, but boy, as a consumer, as just a pet parent, I have no idea who to trust. You hear this is great, this is great. Now on Facebook, everybody and their brother has a solution for your dog to live forever. Just do this, just do that. Mushrooms are now becoming I don't know. I really don't. I can't give you any advice except caution. Okay, can it fix a deficient diet or an excessive diet? No. Adding more of something doesn't necessarily make it more balanced. Okay, in most cases, it's going to make it unbalanced. And if the diet is a lousy diet to start with, maybe you're giving something that's giving a deficiency some help, but it's not designed to supplement with that particular food. So it really doesn't make any sense. And I know people spend tons of money on supplements. And now Are there some decent supplements out there that your vet can recommend for specific reasons? That, joint health is one that comes to mind right away. Sure, that's a whole different story. But to just say I feed a cheap kibble, but then I add a supplement to make it healthy, that doesn't make any sense scientifically, nutritionally. Okay, so he and I can agree on that. So there's two that we agree on. That's pretty good. Let's go on to number 8. You should feed the same food every day. And he says variety is the spice of life. Now it's true. Most human beings, if you said, here, just feed this kibble to yourself every day, I would go crazy. Now I'm a carb guy. I love carbs. I love junk food. So I would shrivel up and die if I had to just eat healthy every day. I know that sounds ridiculous, but you know what I mean. Um, I've had dogs all my life, and most of them, if I change their diet abruptly or just started giving them people food, whatever, I see diarrhea, I see vomiting. My 2 little ones I have now, and then they're geriatric. Oh my goodness, I got to be so careful if I, you know, cheat and give them a little bit of something. So most dogs, they are animals of routine. Most of the, and I've had big dogs usually, and they're able to, they want to eat anything, anything you give them, they're grateful. It's the little ones that are so finicky. But they like, it's just been my experience. Mine don't get bored. They love their food. Again, these 2 old little ones, they're a different story, but all the dogs I've had in the past, border collies, Bernese mountain dogs, huskies, they just love their food. They ate it and they thrived on it and did great. Do you need the variety? No, you don't. The fact of changing protein sources to change amino acid profiles and stuff, if you're feeding a balanced diet that's giving them all the amino acids they need, all those essential, what is it, 11 for dogs and 13 for cats, you're good. Okay, they just need those nutrients. They don't need variety of those nutrients. And yes, if you change the ingredients, you're changing the nutrients. There's diets that are much higher in omega-3s based on the ingredients they're using. That's great. If you had a dog prone to joint health or joint issues, that makes sense. But variety, as much as we love it and thrive on it, I mean, again, I couldn't live without the variety. That's not true for our pets. So that one I disagree with. Oh, and I missed the bottom of my my board there. I've got this whiteboard where I put each one of those because there's no way I'm going to remember all this stuff. And one of the things he said, and again, would be the third thing that I strongly disagree with. What was it? No such thing as excess protein, ridiculous. And then dogs are not omnivores. That's ridiculous. But this one is really the most harmful, and when I say that, I truly mean this, harmful for the health of the pet, if the pet parent out there listens to this guy. And it's this, that the variety that he talked about, that you should be mixing all these different foods, fresh foods, and different things, and that's what's going to feed the body and keep them healthy and all the other stuff. That this variety, this should be continued even if they're sick, even if they're sick. So if you, I mean, I don't even know how to get my head wrapped around. How do I say this? So we're going to take, let's say they have just GI issues. Let's just keep changing the diet on them while they're dealing with GI issues, whether it's upper GI or lower GI, whatever, stomach issues. Well, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. That almost seems just generically that, let's just whatever, even if you just believe in chicken and rice, whatever, but let's kind of stabilize the diet here if they have GI issues. But never mind that. If you have an animal with urinary stone issues or crystals in the urea, crystal urea, or full-blown stones, or they have a tendency for those stones, and you're going to take his advice and let's just keep mixing it up, and let's put some of this in, which is going to be high in phosphorus and calcium and magnesium or sodium, and it's going to really promote those stones. Oh, but that's okay because we're doing variety. We have a dog with renal disease. Okay, we've already kind of discussed that. We got to control the protein. We got to control the phosphorus that's in most meat protein, right? We're going to use alternative protein sources like soy or egg or corn gluten or something like that. The fact just go ahead and variety. That's going to be the key to health. That's scary. That is so wrong. Okay, folks, and you luck out. There's not 10, there's only 8, so we're done with this video. So I'm so professional at this, right? Hey, listen, I hope if any of that information you feel is really something your friends need to know, some of your pet parent folks or family, please share this video with them. Again, I just it's what drives me. It's the passion I have, my calling, if you want to call it that. That I just feel really bad when I hear this information. I know there's people that are going to act on it. At least let's give everybody, here's another way to look at it. Do some more research, because the decisions you make, especially like I said, the three things that really stood out: that excess protein doesn't matter, there's no such thing, so harmful. That your dog is a carnivore, again, that's part of that protein thing, not helpful at all. And then lastly, to just give variety, even if they're sick, even if your vet has recommended a therapeutic diet that can be so specific, and just do some real amazing things to help your pet. Oh no, ignore that and just do variety and do things that make you feel good from the internet. It drives me crazy. But anyway, thanks y'all for listening or watching, whatever. I appreciate it. And it's autumn out there. Get outside, breathe the fresh air, go watch a football game, whether it's a high school game or on TV, whatever. But it's a great time of year, pumpkin time, apple picking time, all that good stuff. So get out and enjoy life, right? All right, talk to you soon. Bye.